So basically, the CIA kind of proved that God
The
exists
CIA did? Now I look at the tree. How does that change the tree?
because when you're not looking at it, it could be anything else. You don't
No!
know.
And that's called ignorance on your part.
That is not ignorance.
Yes, it is.
Nonsense.
Okay, good. And Jesus agrees with you. Consciousness is crucial.
Cliffe debates a combative student who challenges him at every turn. From morality to consciousness to the very nature of faith, the student argues that religion is just an evolutionary tool for survival. He even goes so far as to claim that the CIA has proven God exists. Together, they engage in a fiery back and forth on science, belief, and whether faith is anything more than human psychology at work. Which perspective resonates with you? Share your thoughts in the comments. Credit to Give Me an Answer. Now let's dive in.
He's the son of God in that sense. But I feel like son is being used very liberally in that concept.
Good.
He's more of an extension of God in my mind. So within the concept of the crucifixion or whatever, I would argue that it had to have happened for any, like, the salvation to ever occur.
Good.
And it was sort of a means, a sacrifice of oneself to oneself in order to save those beneath oneself.
Good. Very hard concept, though, what you just said. You said, I think you said it very accurately. But what you just said, sir, is pretty deep. And it's pretty much of a mystery also, to some extent. But I think you said it rather well. Now, let me ask you, do you believe in this Jesus?
I believe in a form of Jesus, yes, but not within the accepted Christian faith.
Okay. What is the form of Jesus that you believe in?
Well, that's a very multifaceted question because I have two competing theories within myself that make the most sense to me.
Yeah.
One of which is really just the concept of Jesus, and we all know there's records of his existence, obviously,
Yes.
where he was, in a sense, somewhat of an extension of Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever you want to refer to him
Yes.
as, a newer god trying to sort of catch up to more established gods who have had pantheons for thousands of years, in a sense of power, gravitas, belief, and whatnot. And that's really why the Christian faith skyrocketed after Jesus' death. It took 300 years, yes. However, that's a microsecond in a God's frame of reference. Are you familiar with the Gateway experience and various other MK Ultra sort of?
No.
So basically, the CIA kind of proved that God exists.
The CIA did?
Yep, through the Gateway experience, which was sleep therapy and stuff to introduce, get into a somewhat of a trance state, if you will.
Uh-huh.
A very deep sense of meditation.
Yeah.
Sort of what Eastern philosophy has discussed for thousands of years within like the concept of Buddhism.
Yeah.
But basically, they discovered within this state and within a bunch of other tests of that nature,
Yeah.
that sort of, I guess the best way to put it is your consciousness has a sort of footprint above oneself, sort of,
Yeah.
dimension-wise. And
Right.
that's what makes gods. Gods are a concept of belief. The more belief, the stronger the god. Every
Alright.
single god that exists
Okay.
exists because of the faith of those who come.
You bet. Okay, I hear you. I'm going to answer you, and then Stuart's going to take it. I am really offended when I go into a lot of churches in America, and I see a picture of Jesus on the wall. What's the color of his hair usually? Brown or light dark blonde, right? What's the color of his eyes usually? Often blue, maybe brown. What's the color of his skin? Pretty white, pretty like mine. And I begin to wonder, who are we worshiping here? I go into other churches and I see a picture of Jesus on the wall and there's an American flag right beside it. Okay, I'm a proud American. I'm grateful for all the good that this country has done. I'm embarrassed by the evil that it's done at times. But I get a little concerned because I see Jesus and the American flag really tightly woven together. And then we got the other picture of Jesus. You know what that picture is? He's 6'1" white American male who happens to like basketball. Oh my goodness. I happen to be a 6'1" white American male, and I really like basketball. What am I doing? I am creating God in my own image. Now watch this. Hi, I'm Cliff. What's your name?
I'm Jonah. Nice to meet you.
Theodore. Good to meet you.
No, Jonah.
Harry?
No, Bob. Stuart, Kevin.
Okay, but stick with your name. What's your name?
Jonah.
Jonah. Okay, now why was I being rude to Jonah? Because I was an arrogant twit to the point of saying, I know your name better than you do, Jonah. And I'm going to create this guy according to my prejudices, which is Harry or Theodore. No, he's not Harry. No, he's not Theodore. Who is he? He's Jonah. And in order for me to have a relationship with Jonah, I'm going to have to accept who Jonah reveals himself to be. The same thing is true of God. If I create God in my own image, as a 6'1" white American male who likes basketball and has the American flag wrapped around him, I am a deceiver. I have to have the humility to allow Jonah to be Jonah, and I got to have the humility to allow God to be God. And Jesus Christ claimed to be God, speaking language that I, with my rational mind, can begin to understand. And this Jesus died, was buried in the tomb of Joseph of Arimathea, and 3 days later, he rose from the dead. The overwhelming evidence is Jesus Christ is reliable in a way that Jonah and Cliffe are not reliable. And that is why if Jonah puts his faith ultimately in Jonah, and if Cliffe puts his faith ultimately in Cliffe, we are making one humongous mistake. But if Jonah and Cliffe put our faith in Jesus Christ, based on the evidence that Christ is reliable in a way that Jonah and Cliffe together are not, that's a very wise decision to trust in Christ. Does that make any sense?
Yes, sir.
Good.
All right,
Now
would you entertain me for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
Would you look at your watch and tell me what time it is?
Yes, sir. It is 2:12, but I think it's 2:11 because I'm a minute ahead.
What does that time mean? In the overall scale of cosmological sense, what does that time mean?
It means that time has a beginning, so there is a past, a present, and a future, and it means that I am locked into time.
No. I think you're misinterpreting what I mean. What is 2:12 p.m.? It is a measurement of time. It is an explanation of time.
Yes.
It's in a framework that we can understand. Without a clock, you can't really explain time as anything other than things move and they change position whenever you look at them at different points.
All right, the way I would express it is there's a beginning and there's an end. And that's why we talk about time. There's a beginning of my day, there's an end of my day. There's a beginning of my life in 1954, May 20th, and there will be an end of my
But
life.
time does not care about that. That is merely your perception. That's merely the section of time that has been allotted for your perception, within a sense. With the concept of gods, with the concept of really religion in general, it's just a human way of explaining what that overall concept is. It's the human way of explaining what that higher power is, because it is so indecipherable to us. Within that concept, every single religion is simply looking at that energy, that sort of overall thing, within a different lens. It's really just the blind man. It's a bunch of men in a dark room touching an elephant and all talking out a different card.
You bet. Okay, now here's why I can't agree with you. Because the illustration I gave you. This is a man with a personality, and he's got a name, and his name is not Theodore, and his name is not Harry. His name is Jonah. And guess what? He has likes and he's got dislikes. He has his own unique character. And if I deny that, if I just create this guy according to my desires, according to my prejudices, if I just mold him into whatever I want him to be, that is so manipulative, it's so dishonest, it's such an abuse of power.
But that's what religion is.
No, it's not.
It's to define and mold within your perception
what
someone is.
I did not create Jesus. I did not create Jesus. Jesus was born 2,000 years before I was even born. I am confronted by Jesus, making some incredible truth claims, and he's either lying through his teeth, he's either a liar, or else he is the truth. The same way, this is either Jonah, or he's lying to me.
That's a duality. You're basically trying to put a non-binary system within binary constraints, and that is the chief failure of any sort of absolutist take on religion, where you accept your own as true and others as false. You are essentially saying that you're essentially saying that seconds are not true and minutes are the truth. We have minutes. All hail the minute. That is our measurement of time. Seconds are lies by the bastards. They are wrong. They are a failure of perception. That is what you are arguing, essentially.
No, it is not. This is what I'm arguing. I respect you. That is why I'm listening to you. That is why I'm trying to answer you as intelligently as I am capable of, which is not very intelligent. I know I got a very low IQ compared to many of you, but I respect you. What does that mean? It means I think you're real. It means I think you're true. And you're expressing what you honestly think. And I respect that. And that is why I listen and I respond to you. And I just don't say, oh, so you're claiming to be a follower of Jesus. Because language doesn't mean anything. We just create meaning of language. That's baloney. You and I know English is a language. Logic is something we can use. That's why we can have an intelligent conversation. And if I dismiss you with, oh, what you said was you're a believer in Jesus, I'm a stinking liar. That's not what you said. Do you understand? Reality, truth. Jonah is real. You are real. I am real. And guess what? Jesus Christ is real. Real historical figure. Now, he made some audacious claims. Now, we got to figure out, was he lying or was he speaking the truth?
Well, that's really where your issue lies in, is that whenever you observe something, anything,
Yes?
you change its fundamental nature. Observation alters anything. That's why light behaves the way it does. Looking at something changes it. The position
Looking
of
at-
an
whoa, whoa, whoa,
electron
what does that
can be
mean?
recorded.
If I look at the tree, how does that change the tree?
Because when you're not looking at it, it could be anything else. You do not
No!
know.
That's where we disagree. This is Jonah. I don't care if I call him Teddy, Harry, Philip. No, I'm wrong. I am wrong. This is not Teddy, Philip, Harry. This is Jonah. And if I say Jesus was a nice teacher, and that's all, I'm wrong. He claimed to be God in human form. He's either a liar, not a very good teacher, a manipulator, saying, oh, by the way, if you don't believe in me, you're going to go to hell. That's not a good teacher. It's a pretty manipulative guy. Unless he's speaking the truth. And if he's speaking the truth, you better investigate him and figure out, is he reliable or is he not? And that tree, sir, exists even if I deny it. Guess what? That tree's not there. That tree's not there. That's a lie. The tree is there.
Now that I'm facing you with my eye closed,
Yes.
I cannot see the tree. Therefore, the tree within my perception and my reference frame does not exist.
And that's called ignorance on your part.
That is not ignorance.
Yes, it
My
is. The tree is really there.
Ignorance.
You've already seen the tree.
Yes.
You've already seen the tree, so you
I
know
see
the tree is
When
there.
I look at it again, yes, it is there.
Right.
However, anytime I'm not directly observing it, I have no way of proving that exists. Prove to me right now that your hand exists.
I cannot.
Exactly.
I cannot
That is-
prove anything.
That is fundamentally the impediment, like the sort of.
No, wait a second. Just because I can't prove him does not mean he does not exist. And guess what? I can know George. Because although I can't prove 100% that he's here, there's enough evidence of my eyesight, there's enough evidence of talking with him yesterday that I'm convinced he's a real guy. And guess what? What makes life going round and round is developing a relationship with George, with Jonah, with Margot, with my brother from Nigeria,
That's your
from loving people and trusting that they're real people. They're not just apparitions that I have when I happen to be looking at them. Isn't that right?
That's consciousness trying to explain its itself. Really what you're getting at.
Okay,
I got a
good.
bus to catch, but I will leave you with this.
Yep.
Fundamentally,
Yeah.
every single cell, all of that, all of life
Yes.
exists to proliferate further. That is the main prime directive of life. Everything subsequent to that is all just evolutionary traits, all just things that have been evolved. Consciousness was evolved because it gave us an advantage, because it allowed us to have luck, it allowed us to have faith, it allowed us to make things stronger than ourselves by multitudes. It allowed us to create gods. The reason that consciousness exists is because with consciousness, you can make things so much stronger, so much more permeable, so much more powerful and intangible and
Yeah.
undestroyable than yourself,
Yeah.
that with it, you completely change the ballgame evolutionary. That's what consciousness represents. It is the nuclear bomb. It is the atomic bomb of the evolutionary arms race.
Okay, good. And Jesus agrees with you. Consciousness is crucial. But Jesus says that there's more to life than just being conscious. I am responsible to love God and to love Jonah. Relationships. All right, Stuart, what do you think? You've been listening.
Well, consciousness is actually the biggest argument against naturalism and against evolution as just a macro worldview in and of itself without God. Because you cannot get to an immaterial truth, abstract thinking through consciousness just from a material, naturalistic perspective. So I find it very interesting that he just went that route, because just about any scientist I know would have strongly disagreed with him, theist or atheist. But he brought up some fascinating points when he talked about the blind man and the elephant. What he was saying, and I feel bad disagreeing with him right now, or poking holes in his perspective. But when he talks about the blind man and the elephant, that claim is that he is the only bright, he is the only omniscient one to look down at the 90% of the world that is religious, abides by one major world religion, and says, you are all blind, holding different parts of an elephant. Do you know how arrogant that claim is? That is scary. That's a claim that came from the Western Enlightenment, and it's still a construct in and of itself, you can call it a religion, that says, I've got it all right as an individual, and all of you have it all wrong around the world. So it's scary to me to make that statement. Then thirdly, his whole point on all of these religious systems, and that it's just religion, everybody straining to get to a truth. Yes, that's exactly right. I would say, even though he doesn't buy into one of the major world religions, he is religious himself. Just listen to him talk. Religio in the Latin means to bind things together. He was binding his truth together in terms of consciousness, in terms of thinking through whether that is an illusion, that tree over there, or not. He is binding things together. He is religious. And when it comes to religion as just this ethical construct, everybody trying to get to a God, well, yes, you have to weigh the evidence for whether that God actually exists or not. And then get to the point of saying, Jesus. Now, it's so interesting that he went the whole route of Constantine was the one that gave Christians real power to go out in the 300s AD, around 325. That is absurd. There were so many thousands of Christians worldwide before Constantine, it was scary. Jesus Christ himself, in complete poverty, weakness, was able, look around today, you take away the Bible, take away Christianity, how Jesus has impacted art, music, creative arts, humanities, and even science. He has influenced all of those fields more than any other historical figure throughout time. He did not have a military. He did not have any type of power. He did not have a nation backing him. He was a complete poor plebeian, and he did this incredible work. So you got to go through evidence for God, evidence through Jesus, his character, his claims, whether he was resurrected from the dead, and then you get to the point of saying, wow, can I believe in Jesus Christ as my closest friend? Can I be a Christian? Not this ethical construct of, oh, we're all just caught up in some religion claiming our truth, and we're all blind, just idiots grabbing different parts of an elephant. That's absurd. I would agree with him. But then lastly, when he talked about consciousness and accessing God in REM, deep sleep, sure, you can access God through psilocybin as well. You can have a supernatural experience, all you'd like. Just call it supernatural in your conscious state. Okay? That is an argument for the existence of a God. Not the Christian God, not Allah, but some type of immaterial God. He was contradicting himself when it came to consciousness just being connected somehow to the material, because you cannot get consciousness from the material. You can't even get truth, a search for truth, simply from an evolutionary perspective of the strong eating the weak. There's truth outside of materialism. So again, I feel bad debating him when he's not here, but there were so many holes in his perspective, it was scary.